Hi, this is a special video for the full moon in Taurus on Friday, the 19th of November at 2021. And just to say, if you watch my previous video about the next 52-day cycle, then my apologies because I gave the wrong dates. The next 52-day cycle begins on the 14th of December, not the 19th. So I was getting confused with the Venus retrograde at that time. So let's start with the Mayan calendar to begin with. And so it's very significant, this full moon in Taurus today, because it's on the second day of the blue storm wave spell. And this is the end of a 20-day cycle, which is yellow lunar sun. Okay, so if we look at the calendar and see that we are here and we've reached the bottom of the grid, and we are 1, 2, 3, 4 in, so it's the fourth column that we've just completed. So again, using the same format, and if you want one of these calendars, please go onto my resources page on my website, flowwithjo.com, and there's one on there, a Mayan synchronizer. This is what it is. It's synchronizing us with the natural law of time rather than the Gregorian calendar, which is a human being artifice that's out of alignment with the natural cycles, which we're returning to. So you see there at the bottom, it's got, sorry, there's a bit of glare on here, but there are lots of numbers on there that take us through the 13 number process. And this applies to whether you're in a 13-day, you're in a 13-year, it's all the same pattern. It runs from 1 to 13. So when we get to number 4, it's self-existing. And so again, this calendar is all about creating a different pattern of being self-existing rather than codependent, which is the pattern of the slavery out of balance, making us dependent on things that are unnatural and unhealthy for us, so that we're now recognizing and moving away from because it's time. So this fourth, so again, if we go to the top, because it runs from the top to the bottom, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, this started on the 1st of September, so this is all about mindset in Virgo and purification. It's how we're recognizing our conditioned mind and resetting it. Taurus moon is all about Isis energy. It is what it is, no bullshit. Let's get back to the facts, and we do that by healing and clearing these distortions. Very practical, grounded energy, Taurus. So if, like me, you're tuning into it, you'll be really focusing on your home, cooking, especially at this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere. And potatoes in particular are a key thing for moon gardening. So whenever you've got the moon in Taurus, if you've got the moon waxing, it's a great time to be planting your potatoes. And at the time of the full moon, of course, it's time to be seeing what you've harvested. So it's a good time for digging them up and making things with them. Potatoes are amazing food. Okay, so when we begin, back in Virgo, 1, 2, 3, 4. This column that we're in is number 9, Red Dragon. So whenever it's a 9, It's a gateway point. We're going to a higher level. So all this time, when we've been in this energy, we've been working with leaving the gateway of Red Dragon that began on the 1st of September. And so what does that mean? So whenever we get initiated into the beginning of this 260-day cycle, we're working with the astrology on that day, the sun and the moon, and of course all the other planets. But the sun primarily is giving us the energy around the sun and the zodiac of and what that energy means in that 12-step process. So the whole point of this calendar is that we are going through a process every day, reaching a maturity now as human beings. And healing is an essential part of that process, but more of that later. So when this initiated, there we have a black square, and you can see that's a galactic portal day where we can access Akashic record. So the fantastic thing that's always been really helpful for me and my clients is seeing that there is actually a plan going on at the moment. All the time, there is a divine plan. There is a reason for everything, for why things happen. Nothing is random. And so the more that you start to learn about this and tune into this, and most importantly, learn about your own patterns and codes, then it all does start to make sense. Remember, we've been running codes for people and the way that they are brought up and educated and taught to live, and all the belief systems that go with that, from a very dark picture in many ways, which is so far away from who we really are. And so now we're coming to a point where we're recognizing that, and we are starting to make a big shift around how to heal that and how to stop doing it so that future generations will not be running those ancestral patterns and codes. So when this is initiated in Red Dragon is really about what the Great Mother is bringing us for our conscious evolution. So we're going back, we're remembering, we're unlearning and learning new things so that we can let go of Neptunian delusions and illusions and go into a higher spiritual story of Neptune. Very important at this time to remember that and keep focusing on that, and at the same time work on releasing your fears and your triggers, because they're always old storyline. So when she initiates that first 13 days, we go into discovering where we're at. Basically, every time this comes around again, it's okay, where are we at? This is continual. If you're wise, you'll be doing this every day, and you'll be working on yourself every day as much as you can, especially at the moment, because it's a super intense turning point time. So everything that we work with for those first 13 days, and magically, of course, this time, the Gregorian calendar was in alignment. So 1st of September to the 13th of September was that initiation period. So if you choose, you can remember what was happening to you back then and have a good look at all the things that were coming up, because that's what you're going to be working with the whole 260 days. So what was magical? What was a big shift in your spiritual story? And also, most importantly, for doing the alchemical work, what were the triggers? What were the things that didn't feel good? Because those are the things that we're here to transform. Those are the things that the universe is bringing for us to show us, remember, we are the universe. We're not separate from it. The more that we heal, the more that we clear, we release the survival codes and all the coping mechanisms that go with them, which mean often that we can't live in truth because other people in power will punish us in some way for doing that. And this has been running for a very long time. So it does take a lot of effort and work to do this. You know, I'm not saying it's easy, but it does get easier in a way. Sometimes it gets more intense the deeper that you go, but you know, and you trust and you have faith in yourself as an amazing universal creator, which we all are. And you know that you're starting to make a huge shift on the world itself because you are shifting you. So remember, number one is the initiation. So by the time we go down all these columns and we get to number 9, we're now seeing a gateway point here. We should start to be seeing a shift now around our survival issues. And the more that we can do that, the more that we then start to go on a different adventure, which was a card for yesterday. We go on a different code. So we've been working for this over the past 20 days until we come down here to Yellow Sun. And Yellow Sun is the 20th mind sign. It's what it's all about, really. It's about how we awaken to all of this old story that's getting in the way of our light, that's getting in the way of our connection to God, Goddess, the universe, whatever you wish to call that amazing creation matrix of energy that we are here, incarnate and doing a movie, if you like, doing a play, playing a part in human evolution. And the more that we get clear and connected, the more that role starts to shift and become very different from a lot of the fear stories going on at the moment and that have gone on for thousands of years. So Yellow Sun, the planet is Pluto. And so again, this goes back to our hell story, our shadow, and you know, just becoming really au fait at what that is on a personal level, so we can start to heal it and we can start to release it and start to do something else. In the first 52 days, we get Red Dragon for the first 13 days. Then we get White Wizard, which is the 13-year cycle that we're in as well on year 3. And that's all about empowerment, letting the magic flow through us and not believing that we have to create it. Because remember, it's already scripted. The more you start to heal and go into your intuition, instead of trying to use the 3D conditioned mindset of our culture that you have to do things from your head, then you stay stuck on the labyrinth. The more that you're ready to just wait and act as and when you really feel that. That's how we used to live thousands of years ago, before we became domesticated and stuck in this grid. So all of which, you know, is for our evolution purpose and very significant. So after White Wizard, so again, we've got the Red Awakening, the White is Refining, then we've got Blue, and this is Blue Hand here. We then, as soon as we come into a blue, we're in the transformation space. So we're transforming what came before. Blue Hand is about shaping our destiny and becoming our full avatar potentiality. So the more we heal our human being story, the more we get free of it, the more that we can then connect to our higher self, divine source, and be guided as to creating amazing things in a whole different way, free of all of these old structures. And then finally, in the last 13 days, we go into Yellow Sun. And Yellow Sun in that particular dynamic as well. So if we go down to the bottom here, This is a clear sign. And again, if you want to check out more about that, go onto my website and look up 13 clear signs. There's loads of articles on there. It's a process that's very important. So by the time we get to the yellow, which is a manifestation, we're literally seeing in that first 52-day red of how much light we're holding and how much shadow story. And on a very simple level, on a day-to-day basis, when you're feeling joyful, when you're feeling bliss, connection, loving your life experience, then that's when you're in your light space. Free of using addictions to do that as well. I mean, just there in the natural space and connecting. And when you're experiencing traumatic stories with other people or the environment, you're activating your shadow story still, if that makes sense. So by the time we've done that first bit, we're seeing exactly where we are in a reality check. And that's what Virgo is very much about. It's the reality check. It's about the harvest. It's about what's manifest from going through the summer and then coming down into the fall, but just before we get to the autumn equinox. And so also Virgo time is the lunar moon in the 28-day cycle. So we've had the first moon in Leo for 28 days, the initiation, the magnetic, looking at what we attract, look at what's coming into our holograph and our way of working. And then we get the new learning with Virgo in the lunar moon for 28 days after that. So by the time we get to where we are today on, let's go down again, on yellow lunar sun. So what we're seeing now is that emotional story that we activated in the first 52 days. What did we learn then? What was the new learning? Day 2 is always about the new learning about the emotional story because it's lunar. And remember now we're in the 5th moon, red overtone moon. So we're coming into our center, into our mastery around how we do that. And today it's so powerful because it's a lunar eclipse. And at the time that I'm making this, the lunar eclipse has passed and it's actually moved into Gemini moon energy now. But it's still 99% resonance. So again, around the full moon, it lasts for around 3 days. So you've got the actual time of the full moon, just the day before and the day after, that energy and how that builds around that time. And so today, with it going into from 27 degrees Taurus, which I'll talk about in a moment, lots of moons coming in. I don't know the exact number, but I know there's many full moons, coming in each month now at 27 degrees. And, you know, again, once you start to look at the astrology, you know there's something very powerful and magical happening. There's nothing random about any of this. So for me, it's always magical and it gives me great faith to learn more and more about this energy. Okay, so we've completed the 4 steps now, and we're now, tomorrow, we're going to be going into a very powerful 5th column. So matching in with the 5th moon, overtone. So we're building on the 4. And in magical terms, this is also called squaring the circle. So when you do the first 4 steps, you've got the 4, you've got the structure, and then it's time to go beyond that and come into mastery with the 5th step. So in the same way, we're now going to go into the 5th step of these 13 20-day processes. And this will be red electric dragon. So this is the alchemy. So we went through the gateway of survival. Now we're going to go into the alchemy. And this will run down for 20 days until until we get to yellow solar sun there. So then we'll be going through the gateway of yellow sun. So again, each one of these, we can go to a higher level on day 9. Okay, so just read you the moon at 27 degrees. So again, when you add these two numbers together, you get 9, which makes a gateway. Taurus at 27, a man sculpturing hedges into animal farms. Making a great deal of something out of almost nothing is the mark of fantasy or uninhibited imagination. You prefer to be presented with basic, simple, and ordinary things. Inside your soul, you turn these into what they originally were, releasing their primal power. When alchemy runs this close to the bone, it is astounding what it can do. Tackling long-standing knots and obstacles of every kind is sensed as nourishment and opportunity. A sacrificial incarnation can best frame itself in fantasy and imagination, and thereby hug the edge between worlds perfectly. The path here is to stay under while peeking over the top, and to play it as straight as can be while coming from an impressible source that can come through this peculiar form with flying colours. So again, this talks about alchemy. And the cards today are fantastic. So yesterday at the start, we had the Adventurer's Quest. And today we have the new myth coming in. So this is a lovely card, and there are no links, as far as I know, on anywhere where I can point you a link. So if anybody knows of any, please do let me know. So here we go. You can pause the video. I'm not going to read that whole thing out, but it's there for you. You can pause it and read it. I always get excited when I see this card. And this book is the Mayan Oracle. So it speaks a very different language to lots of other frameworks. So it really is the language of light and remembering of who we really are. And also remembering as well that Taurus is connected to the Pleiades. All of this is huge for the Mayan calendar, and how this links in specifically with the 260-day cycles, Venus, and all the Akashic record on there as well. And this is hugely complex, and I keep intending to do a video about this, but you can check it out in the Mind Factor as well by Jose Argelis, and it does explain it all in there, how it all works. It is mind-boggling how anybody can think anything's random once they read these amazing books and learn about these systems. You know, it's totally there, all there to be seen, how amazing it is. And this is a language of consciousness as well. Okay, so today we've got the Emperor card. Sorry, I'm getting just such a glare on here. Which is card number 4, the structure. So the Emperor, again, I'll put a link on, but this really is about mindset, again, of course. Now, for both of these days, I've picked 4 cards, and you'll remember that This is the 10 of discs, wealth. And so that this came up yesterday. Here we've got the 8 of Swords, which is interference. So again, this is all around mindsets. What interferes with how you want to create, how you're trying to manifest something, what's getting in the way of that interference. And this is a card that I get a lot, and I know it's connected to Gemini energy. So my North Node is in Gemini, my Jupiter's in Gemini, and my Stairway to Heaven begins in Gemini as well. So this is a huge connection with my parents too. And then we've got this lovely card, which is the Priestess. Very connected to the moon, of course. And again, if you check these out on the link, Eli's link that I put on, amazing how much information there is on there. So this really is about looking at what we want to create, what we want to manifest. Remember, on a deeper level, this has nothing to do with the American dream, the conditioned mindset of how we become successful in life or what success means. This is about coming into our personal center, our sovereignty, truth. And when we work on that level, then everything else and the material is immaterial in a way. So this really is about learning how to become an alchemist, heal the emotions, come into this amazing Isis energy at this time. And we're starting to initiate something now because the North nodes are going to be coming in January. And so with the astrology that's happening today, it is very profound around this full moon. So maybe you were feeling this earlier on, maybe you were really connecting to it. Taurus and Scorpio energy is about the power struggle. So Scorpio, on the one hand, is about death and rebirth. It's about survival. It's very much linking into how we understand diseases, bacteria, and so huge on the planet right now. And really up to the individual to do their due diligence on this, because many theories that are being sold, that is the word really, sold to humanity, are not based on any truth. They're based on a model of people not wanting to come into their own sovereignty and power and believe in a particular way of being that goes along with this conditioning and being out of touch with spirit, out of touch with who we really are, in order to live a lesser version of ourselves. So whenever Scorpio comes along, it shows our intimacy issues and it brings light to how we can keep letting go, keep cutting away, and keep refining ourselves on a cellular level. So again, if you think of that circle and think of that light, and again, if you explore acupuncture and how we are formed, I put a link in the video yesterday about how a fetus forms and what level we're at in this 9-month process. We see that everything is sort of a basis of a holograph. And so any energy therapies like reflexology, for example, when you just work with a particular part of your body, like your ear, your hand, your foot, everything's in there of the whole body. And So once we start to really recognize that, and recognize that we have the ability to shape the world, and of course we do shape the world every single day by our actions, by our thoughts, by our beliefs, by how we send our energy out, by how we live every day. This is the Scorpio nature. This is before life, it's afterlife, it's creating that vessel that allows us to complete a manifestation. And that's the other end of the axis, which is Taurus. When we have some people who are trying to manipulate others, then this axis goes out of balance. And so it can be extremely challenging to come into an equilibrium with this when you're in a relationship, on whatever level that is, relationship with your environment, with your food, with other people. Remember, it all comes from within. So the outer circumstances that are existing on planet Earth are a result of all these inner cellular, energetic, heart patterns, templates, beaming out a picture, a belief system. And I heard a great analogy like yesterday from a lady who was talking about being in a lane, that she is in a lane and other people are in different lanes, and that's as it should be. We don't have to get into each other's lanes. We can navigate through our holograph. And the truth is, the more that you really get to know how this works, you know that you cannot change anybody else's holograph. That is up to them. So everything's linked in, everything's tied in. And the more that we start to focus on our childhood, and again, I know a lot of people want to go somewhere else, want to create something new. They don't want to look at their past story. They don't want to heal it. They don't want to go over it or rehash it. It's essential to do some of that work because everything is formed on a cellular level and also in our environment of childhood. And as of yet, most human beings do not know how to parent their children in a way that is fully nurturing and loving. I have worked with many, many people now over many years, and there are some very common ground stories. And again, this is what comes in with the Mayan calendar. What if there were only 260 human being stories, and that we've all got common ground, we've all got particular ways of being, because culturally we have shared mindsets. For example, we're all unique, we're all individual, and the more that you go deeper into this work and deeper into yourself, you realize that often we are living very challenging belief system stories that we have covered over as a way of surviving. We have not yet come into full consciousness and honesty with those stories. And until we do, they keep beaming out their shadow narrative. So it's very important that if you as an individual want to live a different life, you have to discover yourself first before trying to have a relationship with other people that is different to the one that you had with your parents and your caregivers, your siblings, your friends as a child. What I have discovered on my personal journey is that it's the same story over and over again with different people. And this is why we have to keep re-experiencing these same stories until we decide to heal and to learn and to unlearn and change. So this is very true at this time. This is all about becoming a clear sign and creating a shift. Okay, so to go back to the calendar. So in the video yesterday, I was talking about my own personal wave spell story, of which I am number 9 on here. Okay, and so by the time we get to here, this is a gateway. This is my Mayan sign, blue solar hand. And this is also my mum's, and she is here. And as you can see, she's an Akashic record, and she's a red resonant serpent. So by the time we get here, so let's have a look. So today we are on Friday, the 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th of November. Red resonant serpent. Now that's very significant date as well for me. So I just had a big insight with that because I hadn't done this before as to what actual date it was. Okay, so on that date, 24th of November, it's very significant. So tune in, whatever's happening to you on that day, resonance, what's resonating with you that creates joy and love, and lets your Kundalini flow, feels good in relationship. And what isn't, remember the what isn't is the old story that's seeking to be cleared and released so you can become a happier, more connected human being. Now that's going to link in to when we go here, which will be 20 days later on. And when we go in on the 14th of December, and we then start the big Akashic. Okay, so that's a good day to really pay attention to that. And because that's going to be huge when we go into next cycle. So over this period of this full moon, it means our emotional body is fully being pulled. However, with this moon, it is a long way away. It's at its full apogee away from the earth. So it's not as intense, the feeling. But whenever we are going into full moon energy, it's usually when we are very emotional at the time. And I'm going to make a video separately about the astrology. And so I'll be sharing that with you tomorrow on the new 20-day cycle coming in. So really focus now on what's pushing your buttons, what's feeling out of integrity, what feels like it's not truth, and how are you being triggered in the outer world. Start to trace that back to what does this remind me of? Where did this begin? Because it always begins in our childhood And that is the key. That is what we're going to keep playing with our whole life. That's our challenge. That's our gift that we come to bring, is to get free, to get clear of this old narrative and story, so we can stop living out of alignment with who we really are, and we can start to birth the new earth through each one of us doing a purification process and literally changing our mind. Lots of love, and I hope you have an amazing, amazing full moon experience and really feel that shift now on your spiritual story, and be disciplined with yourself. Keep focusing on that, keep tapping, keep clearing. And if you'd like to know more information about any of the work that I'm doing, please do get in touch. There'll be a link below. Bye for now.